Okay, so just give me a minute. Let's begin by offering our respects to the founder Acharya of ISKCON, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Om Agyana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Taruvyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Please repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Okay, so we welcome all of you to our weekly classes. I see online Disha, Krishna Kumar, Lavina, Shri Hari Radha, Ranjit, Bhavani, Varsha, Aja, who joined us for the first time today. Then we have Adarsh Kumar, Anita, Ayush, Deepa, Disha, Melvani, Divya, Hema, Jai Radha, Tela, Karuna, Mampi Biswas, Venkatachari, Neelam. My parents are there. Ritu Lalwani. Today is Ritu's birthday. So wish you a very, very happy birthday. And then we have Shiva.
Thank you. Many happy returns of the day.
Thank you.
So thank you all very much for joining. Do we have any questions before we proceed?
No.
Anyone else is joining for the first time today, other than Aja? Anybody else joining for? Anita, okay. Welcome to our classes, Anita. Nice to see you. Anybody else? Mampi Biswas also joining for the first time. Aditya also joining for the first time. Oh, very nice. So thank you all very much. And I hope that you continue in these classes for the next 18 months or so, if Krishna so sanctions. Okay, so what did we see in the previous class? Which chapter are we doing?
The first.
The first chapter. So what did we see in that chapter? What is the title of chapter 1?
Observing the armies on the battlefield of Kurukshetra.
Yes, very nice. Observing armies on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So in the previous class, we saw something very significant, which was the beginning of Krishna Arjuna Samvad. No, the conversation begins in this verse, text 21. This conversation begins when Arjuna requests Arjuna to take the chariot between the two armies. So did Krishna comply to that request?
Yes.
At this point, does Arjuna have any doubt fighting the war? Up to this point, was there any doubt in Arjuna's mind that he's going to fight the war?
No.
Because he's all set with his Gandhi. Okay. Just want to make an announcement that Disha is going to mute people who have their microphones on by mistake. So she's going to be doing it in case you're surprised as to why your microphone is muted is because of this reason. So she's taken up the service. So thank you very much, Disha, for your service. Okay. So Arjuna takes the chariot. Arjuna requests Krishna to take the chariot in between, and Krishna complies to that request. And what is the reason that Arjuna gives? Why does he want that his chariot is placed between the two armies?
To see who are all relatives are between both the parties, and which relatives have come for all the kings who have come to fight.
Yes, exactly. He wants to see who have gathered there to fight this war on both the parties. So he's saying, let me see those who have come here to fight, wishing to please the evil-minded son of Dhritarashtra, he says. Durbuddher is the word he uses, no? Durbuddher, the evil-minded son of Dhritarashtra. Okay. And then Sanjaya is describing to Dhritarashtra what is it that Arjuna is seeing. So what is it Arjuna could see? He could see in the midst of both parties, his fathers, grandfathers, teachers, maternal uncles. So here Sanjaya is giving the list of the people that Arjuna is seeing in both the parties. And then what happens when he sees all these relatives, all these friends and relatives on both the sides? What happens to Arjuna?
He feels compassion for his own people.
Yes, he's feeling compassion. And how much compassion? He's feeling so much compassion that he's feeling completely overwhelmed with compassion. So he's completely overwhelmed. That much of compassion he's feeling. And then Arjuna begins to speak. And Arjuna begins to describe how he has become physically weak after he sees his friends and relatives. Because then he says that the limbs of my body is quivering, my mouth is drying up, his body is trembling, his hair is standing on end, his Gandiva is slipping from his hand. So this is very, very significant, especially the Gandiva slipping from his hand. We discussed how he had taken a vow that anybody who tells me to drop my Gandiva, I'm going to kill him. And actually what happened once during the war was that Yudhishthir was badly injured by Karna, and Yudhishthir was in his tent tending to his wounds. And at that time, Arjuna goes to Yudhishthir's tent to see if his brother is all right. And when Arjuna goes to see Yudhishthir, Yudhishthir thinks that Arjuna has killed Karna, and that's why now he has come to the tent to give me the news that he has killed Karna. Remember, Yudhishthir was injured by Karna. So that time, Arjuna informs Yudhishthir that, no, I have not killed Karna. I just came to see if you are all right. And that time Yudhishthir was very angry. He was furious at Arjuna that why did he leave the battlefield without killing Karna? And he uses very strong words. He tells his brother that it's better that you hand over your Gandhi to somebody else who can fight instead of you, who is unable, who is unfit to kill Karna. And he tells him that you should have come out of Kunti's womb in the 5th month itself as an abortion instead of being born in this royal lineage. So Yudhishthira uses very strong words against Arjuna. And when Arjuna hears this, that you better give your Gandhi to somebody else, Arjuna is so furious that he actually he takes the sword out of its sheath and is ready to behead Yudhishthira for saying that. And then who comes to the rescue? Of course, it is Krishna. So Krishna tells Arjuna, what are you doing? Come to your senses. You cannot kill your own brother Yudhishthira like this. So then Arjuna realizes, and then his anger subsides. But then Arjuna says, but now I'm in a fix because I have taken this vow that anybody who tells me to drop my Gandhi, I'm going to kill the person. Now I have taken this vow also. So now how do I resolve this issue? And then Krishna tells him that one should always respect his elders. And if an elderly person receives an insult from his subordinate, from his inferior or his junior, then it is considered that that person has died at heart. So therefore, Krishna tells Arjuna that you insult you insult Yudhishthira, so that will be equal to Yudhishthira dying without actually dying. So Arjuna then uses some strong words. Of course, he uses these words only because he wants to avoid actually killing Yudhishthira. So he tells Yudhishthira that you are addicted to gambling and this war is taking place because of you, and because of you we are suffering. And he says these words. And immediately after he says this, again Arjuna takes out his sword. Now Krishna tells him, now why are you taking out your sword? Now the problem is resolved. So Yudhishthira says, no, because I have spoken these words to my elder brother, I am going to kill myself because I should have not spoken these words to my brother. And then Krishna tells Arjuna that, okay, if you want to resolve that now, what you do is you glorify yourself, because no civilized person will glorify himself. And by glorifying yourself, it is equal to self-destruction. So then Krishna tells Arjuna, you glorify yourself and you can resolve this other issue that you have right now. So then Arjuna glorifies himself, and then he falls at the feet of Yudhishthira and he asks for forgiveness. And then what Yudhishthira does, Yudhishthira says that, no, it's not your fault. It's fine. Whatever you said is true. And I have to now, I now regret my actions. Therefore, I will go to the forest for tapasya and perform some austerity. I will give the kingdom to Bhim. And better I go to the forest because I'm not fit to rule this kingdom. And then Krishna explains to Yudhishthira that don't take words of Arjuna to heart. What Arjuna said was only to avoid killing you. He does not actually mean it. And then Krishna says that I ask for forgiveness and please let it go. And then Yudhishthira accepts what Krishna says. And then Arjuna, everything is set right. And then Arjuna goes back to the battlefield. And on that very day, he kills Karna. So which day of the battlefield was this? Does anybody know? Which day of the war was this?
17th day.
17th day. Yes, exactly. On the 17th day, Karna was killed by Arjuna. Okay, so just imagine Arjuna was ready to kill Yudhishthira because Yudhishthira told him to hand over the Gandhi to somebody else. So it's very significant that Arjuna's Gandhi was slipping and he's not able to hold on to it. No? That's how overwhelmed he is. Okay. So then after he speaks about his physical weakness, he talks about his mental weakness, because then he says that my mind is reeling, and he says that I can see only causes of misfortune. So Arjuna is thinking about what is going to be pleasing for him, but he is forgetting that all he wants, all that he should be concerned of, and all that we should be concerned of is what is it that the Lord desires? How can I keep the Lord happy? We don't have to keep ourselves in the center. But here Arjuna is saying, I see. It doesn't matter what we see, what we think. What matters is what the Lord thinks, or what can please the Lord. So anyway, then he gives his reason. So his first reason, Arjuna's first reason not to fight the war is compassion, as we already discussed, that he's overwhelmed with compassion. And the other reason that we saw was enjoyment. So Arjuna is telling Krishna that I do not see how we can enjoy after fighting this war, after killing all these great personalities. I don't see how I will be able to enjoy. So therefore he says, what pleasure will we derive from killing the sons of Dhritarashtra? So till here we saw in the previous class. We'll carry today's class. We will continue from text number 36. Who can volunteer to read today?
Me.
Ayush.
Right.
Okay, thank you, Ayush. Okay, let's listen to the verse.
पापमेवाश्रयेदस्मान् अद्वैतानाततायिनः तस्मान्नार्हा वयं हन्तुं धार्तराष्ट्रान् स्वबान्धवान् स्वजनं हि कथं हत्वा सुखिनः स्याम माधव.
Sin will overcome us if we slay such aggressors. Therefore, it is not proper for us to kill the sons of Dhritarashtra and our friend. What should we gain, O Krishna, husband of the goddess of fortune? And how could we be happy by killing our own kinsmen?
So now Arjuna gives the third reason why he does not want to fight this war is. And what is the third reason? It is sin. He is afraid of taking the sinful reactions of killing these great personalities, of killing his own teacher, his own guru, his own grandfather Bhishma, who's also one of the 12 Mahajans, great devotee of the Lord. So the third reason of Arjuna is sin. Now, by what name is Krishna referring to Arjuna here? I'm sorry, by what name is Arjuna referring to Krishna here?
Husband of the goddess of fortune.
Husband of the goddess of fortune. What name is that?
Madhava.
Madhava, yes, Madhava, very nice. Madhava means husband of the goddess of fortune. So he's saying you are the husband of the goddess of fortune. You are supposed to bring fortune. Why are you telling me to do something that is going to cause misfortune? That's why he's referring to him as Madhava. Now, what is the error here on Arjuna's side? Wherever Krishna is present, can there be any question of any misfortune?
No.
No, there can be no misfortune where the Lord is present. That too, he is personally present on the battlefield. Even when the Lord kills, the person who's being killed is getting benefited. How?
He'll get moksha.
Yes,
So
he
because
gets liberation, he gets moksha, isn't it? So there is no question of anything any misfortune or any unfortunate incident taking place where the Lord is present, because he is all good. Now, of course, we discussed in the previous class that Krishna is Bhakta Vatsala, isn't it? The devotees are very, very dear to the Lord. But in the Srimad Bhagavatam, many times Krishna is referred to as Kripana Vatsala. Kripana Vatsala means he is also, even the Kripanas means the people who have fallen, even the fallen sinful people are very dear to the Lord. So yes, Krishna is Bhakta Vatsala, but he is also Kripana Vatsala. So he's a well-wisher of all living entities. Yeah, Krishna Kumar, you have a question?
yeah, I was wondering about the point which said that everybody who died on the battlefield gets moksha. Do you think that is the case? Because Krishna did not kill anybody. It was Arjuna and other people who killed everybody.
Yeah,
How
but
do
Krishna was personally present on the battlefield. So that made a difference.
But all those bad people, say the Shasan, Suryodhana, Karna,
Yes. Yeah.
they all got moksha?
Yes, everybody who died in the presence of Krishna on the battlefield, they all got moksha. Because Krishna was personally present.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome. Okay.
Mataji, can I ask you one question?
Yes.
This word just now that you used, kripa, what does that mean again?
Kripana Vatsala. See, Vatsala means one who's very dear. The word Vats means chest and La means to bring. So you bring close to the chest. So the Lord brings close to his chest whom Bhakta Vatsala, or his devotees, which means the devotees are very dear to him, because when we bring something close to our chest, it means that thing is very dear to us. Okay. So Krishna is Bhakta Vatsala. Also he's Kripana Vatsala. Kripana means the fallen people, the fallen conditioned souls. So he is also Kripana Vatsala, which means even the fallen conditioned souls are very dear to the Lord. Just like how the mother loves all her children, irrespective of whether they are good or bad. In the same way, Krishna is God, our Father. So even the Kripanas are very dear to him. Now one may again ask then, if he's also Kripana Vatsala, then how do we focus that he is Bhakta Vatsala? So is God partial to his devotees, or is he impartial to the devotees? Now how to answer that question? One can counter argue, no? So what is the use of me being a devotee if anyway I will get the same mercy if I'm being sinful?
But he is more, he loves the Bhakti. Yeah, that's a good question. So you mean to say he's even with both of them? You love them both evenly?
Yeah, that's the question. No, that is the question I'm asking. So if he's both Kripana Vatsala and Bhakta Vatsala, then how do I have an added advantage by becoming a devotee? If he's impartial, if he loves everyone as his children, as a mother loves her children equally, then so how to answer that question? Who can say? The Lord is partial to his devotees, or he's impartial to everyone? Is the Lord playing favorites?
No, he doesn't play favorites.
So then are the devotees not special to him?
No, they are.
So then so
Very good question.
how to resolve this? So the answer is the Lord is impartial in opening the doors to everyone to come and take advantage of his partiality to devotees. That opportunity is there to everyone to surrender to the Lord. So that way he is impartial, that he is giving the opportunity to everyone to surrender. And once somebody chooses to surrender to the Lord, then he has that extra devotion. But he's impartial in the sense that everybody is given that opportunity. Not that somebody is a killer, somebody is a sinner, somebody is downtrodden, somebody is very, very fallen. He is the most sinful, wretched creature on the planet, but he does not have the opportunity. No, you cannot surrender unto me. No, the Lord gives equal opportunity. He is an equal opportunity employer. Everybody is open to go out and take his mercy. Okay, so there comes his impartiality. And there within that impartiality, now when somebody surrenders to him, then he has that extra special devotion towards his Lord. So he is Bhakta Vatsala. Okay?
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. So now here, Arjuna is using the word atatayinaha. Atatayinaha means aggressors. Now, according to Shastra, there are 6 aggressors. And if one is an aggressor, see here we have a list. Let's go to the next slide. See, these are the 6 kinds of aggressors according to scriptures. Srila Prabhupada mentions this in the purport. Now, if one performs any one of these 6 aggressions, then he can be killed as a punishment, and there is no sinful reaction to it. So Arjuna is saying that I will take sin if I slay such aggressors. But Shastra says that if one is an aggressor, any one of these 6 kinds of aggressors, if he is killed as punishment, then there is no sinful reaction that one undertakes. So what are these 6 kinds of aggressors? Number 1 is poison giver. 2, one who sets fire to the house. 3, one who attacks with deadly weapons. 4, one who plunders riches. 5, one who occupies another's land. And 6, one who kidnaps another's wife. Now, how many of these 6 aggressions did Duryodhana and his brothers do?
All.
Which one is 6? What's that?
All of them.
All of them. Yes, they have committed all 6 aggressions. Which are they? When did they give poison?
When Bhim was young.
When Bhim was young, they gave poison to Bhim and threw him in the river. Then setting fire to the house. When did they do that? Lakshagra, in the wax house, isn't it? They were staying in this wax house and they set fire to that wax house and they thought that Kunti along with her 5 sons will perish. One who attacks with deadly weapons. When did this happen?
It happened many times whenever he attacked in the Virat Yudh.
In the Virat Yudh, yes. In the Virat is one example where they were living incognito, and Duryodhan, along with all his, the Kaurav Sena, no? Bhishma was there, Dronacharya was there, Ashwatthama was there, Duryodhan, his brothers were there. All these people had come, and Arjuna had single-handedly defeated all of them. So attack with deadly weapons in the Virat war. Very nice. Plundered riches. When did they plunder the riches?
When they did they played that game,
in the gambling match. Yeah, in that gambling match was rigged, and they cheated them, and they plundered all the riches. They took away their the jewelry, the kingdom, everything was taken away. One who occupies another's land. When was this?
And they denied to give the land to them, even the 5 villages.
Yeah, the 5 villages, and actually the kingdom itself belongs to the Pandavas. No, so they are occupying the land of the Pandavas. This whole war only is taking place because of that. So they have occupied their land. And one who kidnaps another's wife?
Draupadi.
Yeah, Draupadi, they tried to disrobe Draupadi. And one more incident.
During their 12 years vanvas, they were Draupadi.
Okay, your voice is breaking, Krishna Kumar. I cannot understand.
When they were in the 12 years vanvas,
yeah,
misunderstanding. At that time, Duryodhan's sister's husband, forgetting.
Yes. He tried to kidnap Draupadi. What was his name?
Jayadratha.
Jayadratha, yes. Very nice. So just see, these people have performed all these 6 aggressions. So therefore, Shastra says that if they are killed as punishment, there is no sinful reaction. Now, please remember that in Kali Yuga, any kind of killing is completely prohibited. So we cannot say that, oh, Shastra says that if I kill this person because he has plundered my riches, I'm not going to take any sinful reaction. Yes, we are going to take sinful reactions, because in Kali Yuga, all kinds of killing is completely prohibited. We are not allowed to kill even a small insect. Forget killing people. Okay. So let's not get any ideas. This was only for the previous yugas. In Kali Yuga, it is completely prohibited. Please underline that in bold. Okay.
Mataji, I have one question. Just now you mentioned what was that when they fought, like I forgot the name. You just mentioned. Yeah, the Virat. When did that happen?
Okay, so the Pandavas were 13 years in exile. The 13th year, the last year, they were supposed to live incognito or hidden. And the pact was that if they are discovered in the 13th year before the time ends, then they have to go for another 13 years of exile. So at the end of the exile year, the Pandavas in the last year, they were living in the kingdom of Virat by changing their original identities. And that day had ended, but Duryodhan thought that we will go and discover them. So they attacked this kingdom of Virat. They stole some cattle, and there was a war. And that time Arjuna single-handedly defeated them. Okay, so this was at the end of their, the last day of their 13-year exile. Okay. Before the Mahabharata war.
Okay, thank you. Hare Krishna.
You're welcome. So see, what is Arjuna's conflict? On one side, there is Kshatriya Dharma, which says that as a Kshatriya, as a warrior on duty, he has to protect the citizens by punishing the aggressors. On the other side, there is Kula Dharma. Kul means dynasty. And what does Kula Dharma say? Kula Dharma says that you have to protect your dynasty. You have to protect your relatives. So now what's Arjuna's problem is the aggressors, his relatives only have become aggressors. So protecting relatives is Kula Dharma, and killing these aggressors is Kshatriya Dharma. Now, what to do when the relatives only have become aggressors? That is Arjuna's dilemma. What dharma to follow? So what dharma he should follow actually, which is beyond both these dharmas?
He should follow Kshatriya Dharma.
Kshatriya Dharma is more important than Kula Dharma?
He should follow the Guru.
Just follow the instructions of the Guru, but now the Guru is only on the opposite side. Which Guru are you talking about?
But at this moment, Krishna is the guru for Arjuna, right?
Not yet. Not yet.
Not it.
Not yet.
Yeah.
He has to follow the instructions of Krishna just simply because Krishna is
God.
exactly no. Krishna is God. So just execute the instruction. Just as how when somebody is in the armed forces, if your superior tells you shoot, you just shoot. Just execute the order. If you're going to ask questions there in the middle of the war to your superior, oh, why should I shoot now? Give me an explanation. I don't want to shoot. I don't think it's correct. What's going to happen? He's going to be fired from his job, isn't it? Because he just has to execute the instruction. So beyond Kula Dharma and beyond Kshatriya Dharma is the Dharma to just simply execute the instruction. Just follow the instructions of the Lord. See, there are many rules and regulations in Shastras. And sometimes it may appear as though the rules and regulations are contradictory. But still, we just follow the rules as it is. See, for example, one rule in the Shastra is, if you touch stool, then you have to have a bath. You cannot engage in devotional service. You cannot go to the altar and do a puja, for example, if you touch stool. Even human stool, you cannot touch. But at the same time, the stool of the cow dung, is used in the temples. Prasad is cooked on cow dung. No, that is also the stool of the cow. So yes, the regulation is there in the Shastra that if you touch stool, immediately you take a bath. You're unfit for devotional service. At the same time, the cow dung is used for so many religious practices within the temple premises, inside the temple premises also. So there are rules and regulations, and there are also some exceptions to the rules and regulations. So we should try to understand it from broader perspective. Sometimes what happens, people see only one part of the Shastra, but they are not aware of the other side of the Shastra, and then they get confused and they end up taking wrong decisions. That's why it's very important to take knowledge from Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra, the three lines of authority.
So Mataji, will it be right to say, like if you've touched cow dung, you can still go to the altar and perform your duties?
Yes, most definitely. They cook prasad only on cow dung, no?
Oh, okay.
Okay, so Krishna's actions may not always be pleasant, but they are always benevolent. So we discussed how Arjuna is referring to Krishna as Madhava, and why? Because he's thinking that he is the husband of the goddess of fortune. So how he can tell him to do something that is so unfortunate, or how can he make him do something that will bring about misfortune? So we have to understand that Krishna's actions may not always be pleasant, but they're always benevolent. Just as how a surgeon, he may take a knife and he may cut through our organs to perform an operation, to perform a surgery in order to cure us of the disease. Now, that is not a very pleasant action, no, to go into an operation theater and get operated. So it's not a pleasant action, but it is benevolent because it is for our own good. It is for us to be cured of the disease. So sometimes Krishna's actions may not always be pleasant. So sometimes we may get to learn harsh lessons. Sometimes we are suffering the ill effects of our own karma. Whatever it may be, but they are always benevolent. They can never bring misfortune. Okay, let's go to the next two verses.
यद्यप्येतेन पश्यन्ति लोभोपहत चेतसः कुलक्षयकृतं दोषम् मित्रदोहे च पातकम् कथं न ज्ञेयमस्माभिः आपादस्मान्निवर्तितुम् कुलक्षयकृतं दोषम् प्रपश्यद्भिजनार्दन.
Piyush, are you there? Ayush?
Yeah, my microphone is not so good. O Janardana, although these men, their hearts overtaken by greed, see no fault in killing one's family or quarreling with friends, why should we, who can see the crime in destroying a family, engage in these acts of sin?
So the sin reason of Arjuna continues in these verses. What is very unique about these two verses, 37 and 38? Who can say? Which is only there in these two verses in the entire Bhagavad Gita. You need to look at the shloka, the Sanskrit here, to answer this question. What is very unique and special?
It says Janardana.
But Janardana word comes in other shlokas as well.
I think it rhymes, Mataji.
All the shlokas rhyme.
Mataji, can you give us a clue?
Is it when it says, although these men, their hearts are greed, don't see fault in killing any one of your families?
Okay, so that's a reason that he's giving. I mean, something very, very special and unique in terms of repetition. Okay, that's a clue. There is something that's repeated here.
The third line is repeated.
Kulakshaya
kritam dosham.
Yes, very nice. Kulakshaya kritam dosham. This line is repeated here again. Kulakshaya kritam dosham. So these are the only two consecutive verses of the Bhagavad Gita where the same line is repeated twice, consecutive verses. Okay, so this is special here. Nowhere else does this happen in consecutive verses. So what is this Kulakshaya kritam dosham? Kula means what? Dynasty. Shaya means to destroy. Kritam means the action or to do it. And dosha means fault. So what Arjuna is saying is that the Kauravas, they are going to engage in Kulakshaya. They are going to engage in the dosh or in the fault of engaging in destroying the dynasty. Why are they doing it? Because lobho pahata chetasha. They are blinded by greed and envy. Because they have this lobe, because they are greedy, therefore they are going to engage in Kulakshaya kritam dosham. But he's telling, oh Janardana, we are not greedy. We are not having this lobho pahata chetasha. Therefore, why should we engage in Kulakshaya kritam dosham? Why should we engage in the fault of destroying the dynasty? So this is what Arjuna is saying here. And he's again referring to Krishna as Janardana. Janardana means?
Maintainer of all living entities.
Yeah, maintainer of all living entities. So he's the maintainer of living entities. Why is he asking me to kill? So therefore Arjuna is referring to Krishna as Janardana. Okay.
Kulakshaye pranashyanti kuladharma sanatanaha dharme nashte kulam kritsnam adharmo bhavatyuta.
With the destruction of the dynasty, the eternal family tradition is vanquished, and thus the rest of the family becomes involved in irreligion.
So now Arjuna is explaining the fourth reason why he does not want to fight, which is destruction of family traditions. So this is now starting into that. What is he saying? Kulakshaya pranashyanti. Kula dharma sanatanaha. So see here actually Arjuna is contradicting himself. On one side he is using the word pranashyanti. Pranashyanti means destruction. And on the other side, he's using the word sanatana. Sanatana means eternal. Eternal means that which will never be destroyed. So he's saying that this Kula Dharma, he's calling Kula Dharma on one side as Pranashyanti, and on the other side, he's saying that it is Sanatana. He's saying Kula Dharma will be destroyed. This eternal Kula Dharma will be destroyed. Now, how can if he's calling Kula Dharma as Sanatana, as eternal, then how can he say that it will be destroyed? Because that which is eternal cannot be destroyed. And that which can be destroyed is not eternal. So actually Arjuna is contradicting himself in this verse by using these words Pranashyanti and Sanatana. So what is he saying? With the destruction of the dynasty, the eternal family tradition is vanquished. And thus the rest of the family becomes involved in irreligion. When the dynasty is destroyed, then the traditions are destroyed, and then the family becomes involved in irreligion. They will be engaged in adharma, Arjuna is saying. Now, is Kula Dharma Pranashyanti or it is Sanatana? Because he's using both words, but what is it actually? Is Kula Dharma eternal or it can be destroyed?
Kula Dharma is eternal.
Kula Dharma is eternal. Does anybody else have enough? Why do you think so, Khushbu?
Hare Krishna. Because it cannot be destroyed, because what is going on from years, and if it is a family, then they all must be having the same prayer, same prayer, same God, same praying. So that is why maybe it can't be destroyed.
Okay, anybody else has another perspective?
It can be
When it
destroyed.
says Sanatana, after Kula Dharma, when it says Sanatana and Arjun is contradicting himself, so Sanatana is internal. So if Sanatana is after the Kula Dharma, would it not be eternal, or would it be different?
So that is what is the question. Is it eternal or is it not eternal?
Even though it has Sanatana after the Kula Dharma, so that gives the indication that it's eternal.
No, that's what Arjuna, see, Arjuna is using both words. No, he is saying Sanatan also and he's saying Pranashyanti also. So he's using both words. So the question is, which of the two is correct? Can it be destroyed or it is Sanatana, or is it? That's the question. Because he's using both the terms. So the question is, which of the two is correct?
Sanatana.
So you say it is Sanatan. Okay. Are we all doing what our grandmothers used to follow?
No. So it's not Sanatana. It's not internal. You just gave it away.
Yeah, it's not eternal
It can be
because
destroyed.
family traditions can change over time. No, even we are not doing what our previous generation, 100% of what the previous generation was doing. Neither will our next generation follow 100% of what we are doing right now. So it is not Sanatan. It can change. So Kula Dharma is not Sanatan Dharma. What is Sanatan Dharma is Seva. Seva Dharma. The fact that we are eternally the servants of God, that is the eternal principle. That we are meant to serve the Lord, irrespective of whether we are in the material world or even if we are in the spiritual world, still we are going to serve. Just because we are in the spiritual world does not mean that now no more service. No, even in the spiritual world, we have to serve the Lord. Irrespective of whether we are here or there, we have to serve. Now, some people may say that I don't want to serve the Lord. Let's say somebody's an atheist. He doesn't want to do any devotional service. He doesn't want to serve. Can he say that? Can anybody on the planet say that he's not engaged in any service?
No.
Irrespective of whether one is the
can't.
president of the country, one is the prime minister of the country, he may be the CEO of Microsoft, he may be the head of a huge, big joint family, but at the end of it, everybody is serving. Everybody is performing some service or the other. So the eternal dharma is Seva Dharma, not Kula Dharma.
So Mataji,
Sorry, what was that?
So Sanatana Dharma means serving the Lord, right?
Yeah, Sanatan means eternal. The word Sanatan means that which is eternal. Now, what is eternal is Seva Dharma is eternal.
Okay, thank you.
But then Kula Dharma is what your family is doing?
Yeah, Kula Dharma is family tradition. But family tradition is not eternal because over time it changes. Like as I said, we are not following the traditions that our mothers or our grandfathers used to follow. Exactly. We may be doing something, but not everything. So it is not eternal. It will change over time. With the passage of time, with the passage of generations, it changes. So that is not eternal. That is not Sanatan. Okay.
So we can say we are part of Sanatan Dharma. Yeah. The Kali Yuga.
No, Sanatan Dharma means eternal religious principle. Now, whether we follow Sanatan Dharma or no, that is a different question. That we try to follow, we must follow, but how much each one is able to follow, that is again relative.
Okay.
But the principle, Sanatan Dharma means that the principle is eternal. The principle will not change. The principle that we have to serve, that principle is not going to change, irrespective of whether we are Indian American in the Kali Yuga or Satya Yuga, or man or woman or rich or poor. The principle is that we have to serve. So that is Sanatan. The bottom line is that. That is it. Okay?
Thank you.
Krishna pradushyanti kulastriyah strishu dushtasu vashneya jayate varna sankarah.
When irreligion is prominent in the family, O Krishna, the women of the family become polluted, and from the degradation of womanhood, O descendant of Vrishni, come unwanted progeny.
So what is going to happen? Arjuna is saying that when family traditions are destroyed and when there is adharma prominent in the family, irreligion. So this he is continuing from the previous verse. O Krishna, the women of the family become polluted. So when there is adharma in the family, he is specifically picking on women. Women of the family become polluted. And when the women of the family become polluted, then from the degradation of womanhood, O descendant of Vrishni, comes unwanted progeny. Unwanted progeny means children who cause disturbances in the society, or children with poor consciousness, or children with degraded principles. They are unwanted progeny. For example, the criminals and the sinful people, they are the ones who create disturbances in the society, isn't it? Why are these people causing so much disturbance? Is because the women are degraded. The women did not, the mothers or the women in the family did not give them the right principles, right values. And why were the women degraded? Because the family has become polluted. And why was the family polluted? Because there is adharma in the family. Irreligion is prominent in the family. Why irreligion is prominent in the family? Because the elders were killed and the family traditions were destroyed. So you see, this Arjuna is thinking about the long-term effects of him fighting this war. What do you think? Does Arjuna have a genuine reason or no?
Yes, he does.
He has a genuine reason.
Yes.
No,
But
he doesn't.
Krishna is going to defeat this reason in the next chapter. Okay, so Krishna is going to say, yes, there is going to be degradation, but the degradation will happen not because you fight the war, but the degradation will happen if you don't fight the war, is Krishna's counter argument. Okay, that we will see when I go to chapter 3. So why only women? Why is Arjuna saying that when the family becomes polluted, there is degradation of womanhood? Why is he picking on women?
Because mostly
they take up the children.
Because women take care of the children more than the men. Okay, very nice. And
the sanskars that we get is from our mother.
From the mothers, okay. More
women are more vulnerable.
Women are more vulnerable. Very nice. Because women are run by emotions, isn't it? Women more think from the heart than from the head. The men can be the head of the family, but the woman is the heart of the family. So women are run by emotions. Most of the decision, it's psychological, it's natural, it's the nature of women. Okay, so they let the hearts rule them. So because women are run more by the hearts, therefore they become vulnerable. It's easier to cheat a woman than to cheat a man. It's easier to brainwash a woman than a man, because the woman runs by emotions. Women by nature are innocent. Okay, so therefore Arjuna is more worried about the degradation of women, and therefore he says it gives rise to unwanted progeny. Unwanted progeny means unwanted children with poor consciousness. See, the consciousness of the parents at the time of conceiving the child plays a great role on what is the consciousness of the child going to be. If the child is conceived after the man and the woman are in Krishna consciousness, or they have performed some devotional service, they have chanted many rounds, or they have done the Garbhadhana Samskara. We have a Garbhadhana Samskara, no? The Garbhadhana Samskara is exactly to do this, to make the consciousness of the parents suitable so that they can have a devotee child. But if a child is conceived on a Saturday night over a glass of whiskey in a discotheque, The consciousness of the child is not going to be the same as the consciousness of a child who's born to parents who did the Garbhadhana Samskara before the child was conceived. So the consciousness of the parents at the time of conceiving the child goes a long way in determining the consciousness of the child. So unwanted progeny are unwanted children with bad consciousness, because they are not going to be raised in Krishna consciousness. They are not going to be raised to become devotees. So therefore, they are unwanted progeny. Therefore, they create disturbances in the society. So this is what Arjuna is worried about, the degradation of the society. So he's thinking about the long-term effects. And one thinks that, yes, Arjuna's reasons seem very genuine, and he's a nice person because he's not greedy for the kingdom. Can you see that Arjuna has any greed for the kingdom? Anywhere in these arguments? No, he has no greed for kingdom at all. Yeah, Pavani, you have your hand raised.
Yes, Hare Krishna Srinama. What is Garbhadhana Samskara? Do we donate something for Pujari?
So Garbhadhana Samskara, there are many samskaras, like it begins with Namkaran. It begins with Garbhadhana when the child is still in the womb. Then when the child comes out, there is a naming ceremony. So these are samskaras. And the last samskara is what? Antim samskara, the death ceremony. So Garbhadhana samskara is done before the man and woman unite. Now, how it is done exactly, for that you have to consult a Brahman. The Brahman comes home and he engages the couple in some ceremony, some prayers, so that the mind of the couple is God conscious or Krishna conscious. But if you want to have a child, on the level of Prahlad, then you have to, each one have to chant 64 rounds.
Oh, daily?
On the day you want to unite to conceive a child.
Oh, okay.
During the day, the man and the woman they chant 64 rounds of the Hare Krishna mantra. Then you can have a child, like a devotee child like Prahlad.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
You're welcome. Krishna Kumar? Krishna Kumar?
King Vrishni.
Oh, descendant of Vrishni. He belongs to the Vrishni dynasty. So he's saying that you come from this great dynasty. How can you talk about degrading other dynasties?
Vrishni.
Yeah, he's an ancestor in Krishna's lineage.
Okay.
Yeah, Mampi?
Ma'am, you have just mentioned that some of the family members were killed. So who are these family members and why they are killed?
Okay, so almost all of them died in the war. There were only a few survivors. Only a handful of survivors were there on both the sides. They were all killed because this war is taking place in order to establish dharma. Now, Duryodhan is a prince and he's evil-minded. The throne actually belongs to Yudhishthir. Okay, but now Duryodhan does not want to give this throne to Yudhishthir because Yudhishthir's father was the king and Duryodhan's father was made the king when Yudhishthir's father went to the forest for a vacation. So therefore, Duryodhan's father was given the kingdom to take care because there was nobody else to take care of the kingdom. Therefore, he's taking care of the kingdom until Pandu's sons are big enough to become the king. But when now they are big enough to become the king, Duryodhan, the son of Dhritarashtra, does not want to give the kingdom to them. So therefore, there is a war. But of course, on the Pandava side, they are not fighting because they are greedy for the kingdom. Krishna wants them to fight the war because if Duryodhan is crowned king, then there is going to be chaos in the society. Because when an evil-minded person becomes the leader, then all the residents of the kingdom, everybody is going to suffer. And then there is going to be widespread sin and evil in the kingdom. So therefore, it's very important that we have righteous leaders who are going to lead the country or the kingdom. Does that answer your question?
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Therefore, in the previous ages, we had what we call as Raja Rishis. Raja Rishis means, Raja means king, Rishi means sage. The kings were actually saintly. They had saintly qualities. And therefore, they would rule the kingdom and there would be peace in the kingdom. But nowadays, in the modern society, the rulers, the leaders, the politicians are not so well trained up in Shastras. So therefore, there is so much widespread corruption. Now we don't have rulers who are saintly or have saintly qualities. Okay. So Varna Shankara means unwanted progeny. Okay. Varna Shankara, unwanted. So the children who are the unwanted children are not the children who are born because some kind of precaution failed and therefore the child is unwanted. No, unwanted children are those children who are causing disturbances in the society, those who have a poor consciousness. Let's go to 41.
Sankaro narakayeva kulagnanam kulasya cha patanti pitaro hyesham luptapindodaka kriyaha.
An increase of unwanted population certainly causes hellish life both for the family and for those who destroy the family tradition. The ancestors of such corrupt families fall down because the performances for offering them food and water are entirely stopped.
So what happens when there is Varna Shankara, when there is unwanted progeny? This increase of unwanted population, this increase of Varna Shankara, this increase of unwanted progeny will cause hellish life. For whom? For both the family and for those who destroy the family tradition. How? Because the ancestors of such corrupt families fall down. Now, ancestors means what? Our ancestors or the previous generations, when they have passed away, they fall down. Now, what does it mean that the ancestors fall down? See, the thing is, when we do punya, when we do extraordinary punya, then we go to heavenly planets. When we do average punya, then we go to Pitra Loka. Pitra Loka is a loka where the ancestors reside. Okay, so average punya, you go to Pitra Loka, and extraordinary punya, when somebody does, they can go to Swarga or to the heavenly planets. So when we do see this word Krishna uses here, Arjuna uses here, Pindo Daka, Pinda. So when we do Pindadan for the ancestors, it can contribute to their extended stay in the higher planetary systems. But when we don't do Pindaka, then it can lead to the fall down of the ancestors from those higher planets. They can again take birth or go to the lower planetary systems. So when we do this Pindadan, it facilitates that they can stay there for a longer period of time than what was stipulated according to their punya karmas. Okay, so sometimes people say, what is the use of doing Pindadan? The person is dead and gone. What we do here, how is it going to reach that person? They say, isn't it? But we know from the Shastra that even Lord Ramachandra did Pindadan for his father. Now, Lord Ram is God himself, no? Supreme Personality of Godhead. But even he did Pindadan for his father Dashrath. Even Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who was Krishna himself, who came 500 years ago, even he did it for his father. In fact, Lord Ramachandra even performed the funeral rites for his father's friend, Jatayu, isn't it? So we should not think that what we do here, how it will reach somebody who's dead and gone. Why can't the Lord make such facilities? There is nothing impossible for the Lord. Nothing is impossible, isn't it? Now, let's say I deposit money in my account in India. Can I get the money here in Chile? The arrangement is there. The arrangement is there, isn't it? Now, is the same currency note traveling from India to Chile?
No.
No, the same currency note is not traveling. But the arrangement is made that I can realize the money here in Chile, isn't it? So if such an arrangement can be made even on the material level, why can't the Lord, the most powerful personality, make that arrangement on the spiritual level? It's not such a great thing. So it's not impossible. So we should not question that, oh, no, what Shastra says is not correct. What Shastra says is correct. How it is correct is what we have to verify. So anyway, Arjuna's concern is that because of this unwanted progeny, it will lead to hellish life, because the ancestors who have gone to these higher planetary systems, they can fall down because the performances of offering them food and water, this Pindodaka, will be entirely stopped. So the corrupt generation, the Varna Shankara, they are not going to do this Pindadan for their ancestors. So therefore they will fall down, is Arjuna's concern. 42.
दोषैरेतैः कुलज्ञानाम् वर्णसङ्करकारकैः उत्साद्यन्ते जातिधर्माः कुलधर्माश्च शाश्वताः.
By the evil deeds of those who destroy the family tradition and thus give rise to unwanted children, all kinds of community projects and family welfare activities are devastated.
So now he's saying that these unwanted children, knowingly or unknowingly, they would be performing such activities, and then that will lead to a collapse of community projects and family welfare activities. So there will be no more family welfare activities, no more community projects, and all that will collapse because of the activities of these unwanted children, because of the activities of the Varna Shankara. See, again here, Arjuna is referring to Kula Dharma as Shashwata. Shashwata, again, eternal. Again, he is making the mistake of calling Kula Dharma as eternal. But Kula Dharma is not eternal. So see, this is Arjuna's thought process. Superiors are killed. It will lead to destruction of family tradition. Then, because of that, there will be adharma, irreligion in the society. And then that will lead to women becoming unchaste or polluted. That will lead to unwanted progeny, Varna Shankara. And therefore, currently what will happen, or in the present age, all kinds of community projects and family welfare activities will be devastated, resulting in chaos in the society. So this is what is Arjuna's concern. Now, one may think that, what about now in the modern age? Does this also hold good now in Kali Yuga? Let's read this text. Ayush?
Yeah. Arjuna fears the war will lead to chaos, corruption, and criminality in the society. While the specific ways in such a situation may unfold can vary according to time, place, and circumstances. The aftermath of many major wars in the world history can demonstrate the broad trajectory outlined by Arjuna.
So in the modern time, how the situation may unfold. See, it will lead to a collapse in the society. It will lead to disintegration in the society. There will be untrained children. There will be children with poor consciousness. But how it unfolds, it may slightly vary according to time, place, and circumstances. So in the modern time, if there is a war, what happens? The protectors of the society die in the war. And it will lead to collapse of state systems for the welfare of the citizens. So every government has certain system for the welfare. There may be orphanages, there may be old age homes, and there are so many facilities that the government provides to protect its citizens. So when there is a war and the protectors of the society die in the war, then it will lead to a collapse of the state systems. So when these state systems for the protection of the citizens collapses, then what happens? The predators will prey upon the society's vulnerable citizens, especially women. So we know in the past when there were wars, Second World War, or when the countries were attacked by, India had so many invaders. What happened? Especially the women were predated upon. Due to such predation, what happens? Children will be born outside the nurturing, protecting bond of marriage. So when children are born outside the nurturing, protecting bond of marriage, they do not receive proper care or culture because they don't have the love and affection of both the father and the mother within a marriage, within the institution of marriage. So now what happens? Because they don't receive proper care or culture, when they grow up, many of these untrained children, they will cause further social disintegration, knowingly or unknowingly. So this is what is happening in the modern society. See, I was just reading this article from this journal about the situation after the Second World War. We are not going to read this. You can read this offline when I share the slides in your group. But it shows how women, they committed suicide because they were violated after this war. And this violation continued after the war. And even after things were returning to normalcy, it continued after many years, because now there was a great, see here, at the end of the war, there were approximately 50,000 professional and semi-professional prostitutes in Berlin, but the number tripled by the end of 1946. And this did not include the huge unquantifiable mass of amateur prostitutes and sex workers. It is very clear that while the Second War might have ended for the European men on 8th May 1945, the war against German women continued long after the period of Allied occupation. So even though the war ended here for the men on the 8th May 1945, it continued for long after the war for the women. Because this thing continued, rape, prostitution, murder, suicide, verbal, visual, and physical abuse, all this continued much after the war even ended. So I was just reading this and I then put it in the slide because I was like thinking, this is exactly what is Arjuna's concern about how the society is degraded, how the women are predated upon, and then there is Varna Shankara, and then there is disturbance in the society. So this is very interesting article. You can read it later. What Arjuna's fear of social breakdown reveals about him. So this concern of Arjuna that the society will break down, it reveals that yes, he is aware of the consequences of his action. That if he fights the war, the elders will be killed and the society will break down. So he is aware that because of this war, there is going to be a breakdown in the society. But it also reveals that he has insufficient understanding of how what he fears may happen. So yes, there will be a breakdown society, but how it will happen, of that he has insufficient knowledge. Because that breakdown will not happen if he refuses to fight. That breakdown will happen if he, that breakdown will not happen if he fights the war. That breakdown will happen if he does not fight the war. And this is exactly why Krishna wants him to fight the war. Let's read this, Ayush.
Krishna defeats Arjuna's argument in 3.20 to 4.24 by asserting that a social breakdown would materialize if he did not fight. Not if he fought. If he did not fight, he would give a free rein to Duryodhana to exploit society. Future generations would know that Duryodhana got away scot-free despite committing many atrocities. This would impel future Duryodhana-like leaders to become manipulative and exploited like him, or even worse than him.
So
Arjuna,
wait, hold on. So if Arjuna does not fight the war, Duryodhana is going to become the next king. And when an evil-minded person like Duryodhana is going to be crowned king, then he is going to exploit the society. And then there is going to be a degradation of the society. And what is the lesson for the future generations? Oh yes, Duryodhana got away with all his nonsense. So therefore, in the future, leaders will say, all right, Duryodhana was manipulative, exploitative, and he got away. He was enjoying and nothing happened to him. So therefore, they will feel encouraged that, okay, we can also be manipulative and exploitative like him, or we can even be worse than him. So this is the wrong message that will go out if Arjuna does not fight the war. And another incorrect message that will go out is that Arjuna's choice of inaction would set a wrong example of passivity in the face of atrocity. When there is atrocity, if Arjuna is going to be passive, if he's not going to fight the war, then what is the message that he is giving to the future generations? That no matter how much injustice there is, no matter how much atrocity there is, you just remain passive, you remain quiet, you just don't do anything. But we know that in order to have peace in the society, sometimes violence is necessary. Violence is important to establish peace in certain situations. Just as how now the government of the land wants peace, isn't it? But that very government has a police force, and the police force can resort to violence when the crowd becomes unruly. Let's say somebody is committing a murder. Is the policeman going to go and attack the murderer, hold him, or maybe even shoot him to commit another murder? Or is the policeman going to say that, no, I don't want to commit any violence. I have to be passive. I'm a peace-loving man. That's crazy, isn't it? Because sometimes violence is necessary to establish peace. So therefore, this war was necessary to establish peace. Sometimes people question, oh, why did Krishna instigate Arjuna to fight? Why did he instigate violence? We should believe in non-violence. But no, violence was important to establish peace. Because if at that time Arjuna did not fight, then future there is going to be chaos in the society. (43)
उत्सन्नकुलधर्माणां मनुष्याणां जनार्दन नरके नियतं वासो भवतीत्यनुशुश्रुमा.
Krishna, maintainer of the people, I have heard by disciplic succession that those whose family traditions are destroyed dwell always in hell.
So now Arjuna is using strong words. He's saying, I have heard by disciplic succession. In our introductory class, we spoke about how it's important to hear in disciplic succession, or hear from Guru, Sadhu, Shastri. So now Arjuna is saying that I have heard by disciplic succession. So he's saying it's not something that I'm imagining, but I have heard from disciplic succession that those whose family traditions are destroyed, they always dwell in hell. Again, he is calling Krishna as Janardana, or maintainer of the people, saying that you are supposed to maintain the people. Why are you asking me to kill them?
Aho bhatamahat kartum vyavasita vayam yadrajya sukhalobhena hantum swajanamudhyataha.
Alas, how strange it is that we are preparing to commit greatly sinful acts, driven by the desire to enjoy royal happiness. We are intent on killing our own kinsmen.
So Arjuna is saying that why should we commit this mahapapam? Why should we commit this great sin? Because we don't have Rajya Sukha Lobhena. We are not greedy for enjoying the kingdom. We don't have Rajya Sukha Lobhena. So why should we do this mahapap?
Yadi mama pratikaram ashastram shastrapanayah dhartra rashtrarane hanyuhu tanme kshemataram bhave.
Better for me if the sons of Dhritarashtra, weapons in hand, were to kill me unarmed and unresisting on the battlefield.
So what is the alternative? Arjuna is saying, what can be done? Yadi mam, if I, apratikaram, if I do not react. If I do not react which means that if I do not fight. Ashastram, if I don't have any weapons in my hand, then that can be an alternative. And he's also saying that it's better, because what if Arjuna does not fight, the opposite party is definitely going to fight and they're going to kill him on the battlefield. Are they going to let him go? If Arjuna doesn't fight, he will be killed. So he's saying that it's better for me if the sons of Dhritarashtra, weapons in hand, they were to kill me unarmed and unresisting on the battlefield. So he wants to apratikaram. He does not want to react, and he will not have any weapons, shastram. So it's okay. Let them kill me. Let them kill me unarmed and unresisting on the battlefield. So Arjuna is ready to die, but he is not ready to fight. So here's a summary of Arjuna's reasons: compassion, no enjoyment, fear of sinful reactions, destruction of family traditions. And the fifth reason we will see in the next chapter, 2.6. So Krishna addresses all these reasons. Krishna counteracts all these reasons of Arjuna in the second chapter itself. One more reason is there in, one more counter argument is there in chapter 3, but you'll see in the second chapter how Krishna defeats all these arguments of Arjuna, which seem very genuine, which seems very correct. But then when Krishna speaks, we will see how Arjuna's reasoning is faulty. The last verse of the chapter.
Sanjay Uvacha Evamukva Arjuna Sankhe Rathopastha Upavishat Visrajya Sasharam Chapam Shokasam Vignamanasah Om Tatsaditi Srimad Bhagawad Gita Supanishatsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Arjuna Vishada Yogo Nama Prathamodhyayah.
Sanjaya said, Arjuna, having thus spoken on the battlefield, east side aside his bow and arrows, and sat down on the chariot, his mind overwhelmed with grief.
So Sanjaya concludes the chapter and he says that Arjuna, having thus spoken on the battlefield, he has cast aside his bow and arrows, and his mind is overwhelmed with grief. So now there is an incredible twist to the plot of the Mahabharata, because this war is the climax of the Mahabharata. There is so much injustice going on, this, that. Finally, now the war is taking place. The Pandavas have waited for 13 years for this time, for this moment. And now suddenly, Arjuna is saying, I don't want to fight. So there is a twist in the plot right there at the beginning of the climax. So now the reader is thinking, oh, what is going to happen next now? What is going to happen to the war? The war is going to take place or no? Arjuna is going to fight or no? How is Krishna going to convince Arjuna? Krishna is there as a chariot driver. What is Krishna going to say to these counter arguments to Arjuna? So all this we will continue in the next chapter. But before that, we have a few things to discuss. Why did Arjuna feel so overwhelmed at Kurukshetra? We discussed, was it because of the mere sight of his relatives arrayed before him? Just because he's seeing all his relatives before him, that's why he got so overwhelmed? Or was he fearing his own death? Why was he so overwhelmed? The first reason is not applicable because he already saw all these relatives arrayed before him in the battle at Virat, which we discussed previously. So in the Virat war also, all these relatives were there right in front of him, and he single-handedly defeated all of them. So it's not that just because he saw them, he became overwhelmed. Neither is he afraid of his own death, because in Virat, the odds were much greater. Yeah, Krishna Kumar, you have a question?
But we cannot say that we cannot compare the that war was it was not for die or die. Probably just that they were coming to attack the Virata Rajya, and he was only supposed to protect that. But he's not. They were not there to kill Arjuna.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yes.
So we cannot say that that could be.
Yes, what you're saying is exactly correct, and that's exactly what we are going to see next. Okay, so comparing the odds at Virat and Kurukshetra, numerically, say in Virat, Arjuna was a lone warrior. Kurukshetra, Duryodhan had his brothers and many illustrious warriors on his side. And strategically also, Arjuna had only one inexperienced, scared charioteer, Bhuminjaya, who was the son of the king of Virat. So he was the charioteer of Arjuna at that time, and he was young and very inexperienced. Actually, when he saw all the Kurus lined up there, immediately he wanted to run away. But here on at Kurukshetra, Arjuna had Krishna, who was a charioteer par excellence, close friend, and a great strategist. So the odds in Kurukshetra are much higher than the odds in Virata. So Arjuna is not afraid of death. But what happened? See here. You can see he was very afraid and he wanted to run away. Here, this is Arjuna in the form of a eunuch, because there he was living incognito. He changed his original identity and he was living there as a eunuch. And then they switched roles. Bhuminjaya became the charioteer and Arjuna fought the war. And you can see they are all lined up here and he single-handedly defeated all of them. Here is Bhuminjaya. He was very afraid. Actually, he climbed up on the tree because Arjuna told him, you get my weapons. They had kept the weapons on top of a tree, hidden in a white cloth. So he went up to bring that. And you can see that he is really scared. So the odds. So why did Arjuna feel overwhelmed at Kurukshetra but not at Virata? Exactly what Krishna Kumar said, that there's no question of death in Virata. But here in Kurukshetra, the question was of life and death of his relatives. So here the purpose at Virata was not to kill, just to defend Virata, demonstrate his prowess, and deter the Kauravas from future military adventurism. So when Virata war was fought, Arjuna still had hope that there can be a peace agreement between the two parties. So he just wanted to show his power and prevent them from any more future wars. So they are defeated, they learn their lesson and no more war. But unfortunately, the Kauravas did not learn the lesson from their defeat at Virata. And Kurukshetra, what is the stake is that he has to fight to death. Relatives were to die and he was to be the cause of their death. So worse still was that he had to be the cause of their death. Therefore, he was overwhelmed at Kurukshetra, but not overwhelmed at Virata. Now, another thing to Arjuna's credit, that although he was so emotionally overwhelmed, still he was able to speak several well-articulated points. Arjuna was not speaking complete nonsense. No, he was talking sense. He was very much in his senses. So even though he was emotionally so overwhelmed, it is to his credit that he was able to speak several well-articulated points. Usually when we are so overwhelmed, we start to talk, we start to blabber. We don't talk sense. But it was to Arjuna's credit, and it shows that how intent he was to know what is the right thing to do. Therefore, Arjuna is making this inquiry. So his physical inability showed that he has a conscience in the face of a dreadful duty. So he knows that he has to fight, but the fact that he became physically weak at that moment shows that he has a conscience. It's not that he's just going all out to fight without thinking. So he takes that moment to think and to reanalyze the situation. And his verbal ability reflected his steely resolve to gain ethical clarity about his duty. Okay, this is the same thing. Now let's compare the illusion of Duryodhan with Arjuna. Duryodhan also was under illusion because Duryodhan failed to mention Krishna. And Arjuna is also under illusion because Arjuna has forgotten his duty and he has turned away from Krishna. He's forgetting what Krishna wants from him. Krishna wants him to fight, but he has turned away from Krishna and he's looking at these warriors on the opposite side. So both Duryodhan and Arjuna are under illusion. Now, whose illusion is more overwhelming? Externally speaking, Arjuna's illusion is more overwhelming because Duryodhan does not break down. It's not that Arjuna's bow is falling from his shoulders, and it's not that his skin is burning. No, so Duryodhan doesn't undergo the physical symptoms or mental symptoms that Arjuna is going through. So externally speaking, Arjuna's illusion is more overwhelming. But internally speaking, Duryodhan's illusion is more overwhelming because Duryodhan's illusion is lifelong. He disregarded Krishna's position from several years before itself. He disregarded Krishna's position when Krishna went as a peace messenger and he wanted to capture Krishna. He disregarded Krishna's position even when Krishna gave the choice, no, either before the war, either you get my army or you get me, but I will not fight the war. So that time Arjuna showed that he is with Krishna because Arjuna chose Krishna over Krishna's vast army. And Duryodhan was very happy to accept Krishna's vast army because he thought that the army is going to be more powerful than Krishna, who is not going to fight on the battlefield. So saintly qualities of Arjuna, all these points here show how Arjuna is a saintly person. And because of these saintly qualities of Arjuna, he is the right person to receive this knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita. See, Krishna in chapter 1, he has spoken only one line. Krishna has spoken, he has spoken one line, but he has not yet started giving the knowledge of the Gita to Arjuna, which he is going to do in the next chapter. So what is happening here is we see how Arjuna has saintly qualities which qualify him to receive this great knowledge. You can read this offline. What are the lessons we learn from this chapter? When you follow dharma, dharma protects you. So irrespective of how many adversities we may come across, how difficult it may be for us to follow religion, to follow dharma, if we follow dharma, dharma will most certainly protect us. That is the kind of faith we need to have, because it will definitely happen. When you follow dharma, the Lord is by your side, just as how Krishna was by the side of Arjuna. When you're on the side of dharma, even the associates of the Lord are by your side. So Arjuna received so many weapons, from Lord Shiva, Chitrarath, the chariot, the Gandiva, from Agnidev, Varundev, Hanuman was there. So even the associates of the Lord are by your side when you are on the side of dharma. Due to excessive attachment, one loses the ability to discriminate between the right and wrong. So when we are too attached to something or to some person, then we forget what is right and what is wrong. Just as how Arjuna was so attached to his family members that he forgot that what is right is to simply execute the desire of Krishna. Krishna is infallible Achyuta. Better to establish a relationship with the one who is infallible, one who never fails in his affection to devotees. So we tend to place trust in our friends, in our family, but so many times we realize that it was not according to our expectations, because many times our friends have failed us. But Krishna is Achyuta, infallible. So better to establish a relationship with that person who will never fail in his affection to his devotees. When a living entity seeks happiness separate from service to the Lord, he is baffled and frustrated. So Arjuna was thinking about how I will not enjoy if I fight the war. So he's thinking about his own happiness independently from the happiness of the Lord. When this happens, then we are frustrated. We are baffled and frustrated, just as how it happened with Arjuna. Stress. So Arjuna was completely stressed out. But this stress was removed because he received the knowledge from Krishna. So Bhagavad Gita, this knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita actually helps us overcome our stress and anxiety. In Kali Yuga, most people, especially youth, they are inflicted with so many mental diseases, depression, stress, and anxiety, and so many other things. But if we receive this knowledge, then it is a great stress buster. There is no greater motivational speech than Krishna's motivational speech that he spoke to Arjuna on the battlefield. There are three kinds of blindness in the first chapter. We saw Dhritarashtra was blind because the chapter opens by Dhritarashtra inquiring from Sanjaya, because Dhritarashtra cannot see what is happening. So Dhritarashtra is blind, physically blind. Then we saw Arjuna is also blind because he failed to see Krishna. He failed to see his own self-interest. And the third kind of blindness is that of Arjuna. Arjuna was circumstantially blind. In that circumstance, he was blind and he was paralyzed and perplexed because of his extreme affection towards his family members. And therefore, he became blind to his responsibilities as a Kshatriya. So we see three kinds of blindness in chapter 1. So see, Dhritarashtra, he used Pratyaksha Praman because he failed to see the Pandavas' children. He failed to see Pandu's children as his own children. So he's differentiating between Pandavas and Kauravas. But what does Shabda Praman teach us? That there is no difference between one's own children and the children of the brother. So if Dhritarashtra would have used Shabda Praman over Pratyaksha Praman, the problem would have been resolved. Again, Duryodhan, he also used Pratyaksha Praman. He saw everybody else, but he failed to see Krishna. So again, Pratyaksha Praman has failed him to make a proper assessment. But Shabda Praman, from Shastra, we know that Krishna is Bhagavan, Krishna is God. So even he failed to use Shabda over Pratyaksha. Therefore, the problem was again not resolved up till here. Now, in case of Arjuna, he also used Pratyaksha Praman because he saw his relatives on the other side and he identified with the body. But it is to Arjuna's credit that he surrendered to Krishna. He consulted with Shabda Praman. Therefore, he was able to overcome his problem. He was able to overcome his situation and he came out of illusion. Okay, finally, even a go-getter needs to know where to go and what to get. Sometimes people say, I don't have the time to learn Bhagavad Gita. I don't have the time to read it, attend classes, give the exams. I don't have the time. I'm a very busy person. I have lots of things to attend to. But even a go-getter like Arjuna, because he's the greatest warrior on the planet, And even in that very lifetime of his, he was able to travel to the heavenly planets. He even went to Swarga in search of weapons. So imagine, some people have to do extraordinary punya to be able to go to heaven. But Arjuna, in his lifetime itself, he was able to go to heaven. So he's not an ordinary personality. So even a go-getter like Arjuna needed to know where to go and what to get. Even he needed this knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita. So we have no excuse saying that I don't have the time to learn the Bhagavad Gita. So with this, by the mercy of Guru and Krishna, we come to the end of chapter number 1. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Hare Krishna Mataji, can you go the slide? Can you show the slide one more time? The one that you just showed before the go-getter.
Okay, one second. Here?
Yeah. So this one, can you explain one more time the Shabda Pranam, those two again, the meanings?
See, Pratyaksha Praman means we get information by the use of our senses, by what we see, what we hear. From our senses, we gather information. So Duryodhan and Duryodhan and Dhritarashtra, they use Pratyaksha Praman because Duryodhan gathered information from what he saw on the opposite side, but he failed to see Krishna. So Pratyaksha Praman has failed him. Okay. Now, what is Shabda Praman? Shabda Praman is knowledge which we receive from Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. This we did in the introductory class. When we receive knowledge from the Shastra or the spiritual master from a saintly person, Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra, then that knowledge is perfect. If Duryodhan had used this Shabda Praman and got the information that Krishna is God, then the war would have not taken place, because he would have seen that, okay, Krishna, God himself has come as a peace messenger. He was taking Krishna's advice. So he did not use Shabda Praman. Neither did Dhritarashtra use Shabda Praman, because Shastra says that you should not differentiate between your children and the children of your brother. But he failed to take that knowledge from the Shastra. He made the distinction between his children and the children of his brother. Therefore, he did not want to give the kingdom to his brother's children. So he also failed to use Shabda Praman. But Arjuna, he surrendered to Krishna. He sought the knowledge from Krishna. Therefore, he took shelter of Shabda Praman. And therefore, he was able to overcome the illusion of Pratyaksha Praman, and he was able to resolve the problem.
Okay, I have one question. So when Duryodhana saw, like when he tried to, तो उसने बंदी बनाना चाहा Lord Krishna को, then Lord Krishna showed him his Virat Roop, like not Virat Roop, but his Roop.
Yeah, that is Virat Roop only, universal form only. There are different kinds of universal forms. That was one.
Okay, so even then he did not recognize that he Bhagwan hai.
No, even then, that's what everybody in the assembly saw. Dhritarashtra, for the first time, he got the eyes to see. Even then, neither Dhritarashtra nor Duryodhana had a change of heart. Neither did Duryodhana's brothers.
So there was still an illusion कि ये तो उसे ग्वाला है, ये भगवान नहीं
Yeah,
है.
exactly. Yeah, because Duryodhana wanted to capture Krishna. Imagine he asked his guards to capture Krishna. So they are still under the illusion of Pratyaksha Praman. So Pratyaksha Praman, one cannot be dependent only on Pratyaksha Praman. Pratyaksha Praman can be one way of acquiring knowledge, but it is not the only bona fide way. Shabda Praman is the most authentic bona fide way to get knowledge. Guru,
And
Sadhu, Shastra.
Okay, so Shabda Praman is Sadhu, Shastra, and Guru, right?
Guru, Sadhu, Shastra, yes.
Okay, because I thought when he tried to bandi kar raha hai, matlab, because Lord Krishna showed his form, so
yeah, still he remained under illusion.
So would it be like he was under illusion because God wanted him to be under illusion?
No, Duryodhan executed his choice. No, he used his free will. Duryodhan, Krishna went there as a peace messenger, but Duryodhan refused the offer, right?
Yeah. No, what I meant to say is
Arjuna was put under illusion by Krishna so that he can speak the knowledge.
Okay.
Because Arjuna actually is a pure devotee.
So everybody who was there in that assembly who saw Krishna's roop at that time, did they believe that he's the Lord?
Some of them, like Vidura, was able to understand. Like Vidura was also there. Vidura was able to understand. Bhishma was able to understand. Dronacharya was able to understand, but not Duryodhan, his father or his brothers.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for clearing. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Any other questions? So we have gone over time by 5 minutes.
It's okay, Mataji. Love you. We love you guys.
हरे कृष्ण माता जी, आज की क्लास बहुत ही बढ़िया थी, मुझे सब कुछ समझ में आया. थैंक यू सो मच.
Thank you, Shri Hari Radha Mataji. So Jitu Ahuja, you have a question?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I have one question. Since Krishna was God, like he is a God, why didn't he prevented Draupadi, the Draupadi Chirharan? If he was like God and he prevented a lot of things, like last what I remember when he had like foreseen a lot of things, so why didn't he prevented Draupadi Chirharan?
Okay, so we have to understand that there are two things. One is we have our minute independence. Every living entity has minute independence to do what he likes to do. He makes a choice whether I should do right or I should do wrong. Okay, so one may think that, okay, X murdered Y. So why did the Lord permit X to commit that murder? He could have stopped X from committing the murder. Because if everything is destiny, everything is pre-written, so then we will all become robots. Now, Krishna can make everybody surrender to him just like that. Why should we wait for receiving this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita and then cultivating it and following spiritual practices? He can make it. So what we have is minute independence to do what we want to do. That small little minute independence each one of us have. And the choice, the moment-to-moment choices we make during using that minute independence is what determines our destiny. So what I do right now determines what I will do in the future. Now, in case of Draupadi, she did not surrender to Krishna initially. Initially, she tried to protect herself on her own strength because she was looking for support towards her husbands. She was looking for support from the stalwarts of the Kaurava dynasty. You know, she was looking to Bhishma Dev, to Dronacharya to save her. She was expecting that. And then when her sari was being pulled by Dushasan, she tried to protect herself. She tried to prevent Dushasan. So she tried to use her own strength to prevent that from happening. So she was not calling out to Krishna at that time. She did not surrender to Krishna at that time. But then the moment came when Draupadi realized that, okay, nothing else is going to work here. Imagine she is a queen. She belongs to the royal family. She has 5 mighty husbands whom nobody on the planet can defeat. She is the daughter-in-law of the Kuru dynasty, such a great, prestigious dynasty. And still she was in that hopeless situation where nobody could come to protect her. Then she realized that, okay, nothing is going to work. Therefore, then she raised her hands and she called out to Krishna. Now, when she called out to Krishna, then Krishna came. So we have to take our steps towards Krishna, then Krishna will come to us. We have to take at least one step. Then Krishna will take 10 steps. But that first step we have to take now. So Krishna came and he prevented that as soon as Draupadi surrendered and called out to Krishna.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Thank you very much. One more question. There was one more question I had written. I'll read it out faster. Karna used to always face defeat and lose with Arjuna. Was it because he was like why did he used to face all the defeat? Because was it like because of his reincarnation or something? What is bad karma or what was it like?
See, the thing is, you can answer this question from different angles of vision. First of all, Arjuna was a better warrior than Karna. Definitely. Okay. And secondly, because Arjuna is a devotee derives his strength from the Lord. The Lord empowers his devotees. Now, because Arjuna is a devotee, he is empowered by Krishna. So therefore, Arjuna becomes undefeatable because he's a devotee.
Devotee, okay.
Yes. And as far as Karna is concerned, Karna is the most gray character of Mahabharata. Very, very complex character. And he made some mistakes. He made some very grave mistakes, and that is why he was eventually killed in the battlefield. For example, he was the one who called Draupadi a prostitute. And during that gambling match, it was he was the first one to come up with the idea that she should be disrobed. This was actually Karna's idea. It came out from his mouth for the first time. It did not occur to anybody else. It did not occur to Duryodhana or Dushasan. It occurred to Karna first. So it was he who suggested that Draupadi should be disrobed. Then he took knowledge from his spiritual master Parshuram by speaking lies. He spoke lies to Parshuram, and he got the knowledge from Parshuram. Therefore, Parshuram cursed him that when the crucial moment comes, you will forget all the mantras, isn't it?
Okay.
So he lied to his guru also. So he made some of these very, very grave mistakes. Even when Indradev went to him to ask for his kavacha, so people glorify him, saying that he is Danveer Karna. But he gave away the kavacha. He asked for that Shakti weapon in return. So when you ask for something in return, it's not charity. It's a deal that was struck between Indra and Karna, because Karna thought that using that Shakti weapon, he will be able to kill Arjuna. But eventually he had to use it to kill Bhim's son, Ghatotkacha. So these were some mistakes, grave mistakes that Karna made. And therefore, he is not on the side of Dharma. When he is not on the side of Dharma, he is on the side of Adharma. How will Dharma protect him?
Exactly. Thank you. Thank you very much once again.
You're welcome. Any more questions? Okay, so the exam paper is up in the group. Only 9 people have registered so far. Please register yourself. It's pretty easy. Actually, I wanted to make you all do it right now, but time does not permit. I don't want to take more of your precious time. Please click on the link. Automatically, you will be asked to register, and then you can access the question paper. You can answer the questions on the screen itself if you like, or you work on the PDF offline, and then you can go online and submit the answers. As long as you don't click on the submit button on your screen, you can go back and access the form as many times as you want, and it will remain the same. I mean, if you've marked half the answers and tomorrow you want to work on the rest of the answers, your work is saved by default. So you don't have to worry about that, but don't hit the submit button until you are sure that your answers are correct. It's an open book exam. You can refer to the slides, you can refer to the recordings, you can refer to the Bhagavad Gita, and you can answer the questions. So it's an open book exam. Okay. If you have any doubts about the question, if you cannot understand the question, you can ask me. But if you have doubts about what is the answer, then of course I cannot help you. Okay. So you can ask me doubts about the question if you don't understand. Anything else we need to discuss?
Mataji, I've already submitted. So in order to see the results would be where?
The results would come up when we close the exam. Because let's say you get 100 marks. Now you already know what are the correct answers. So we don't want the information to get leaked to somebody else. Okay. So the answers will be revealed when we close the exam. You have 3 more weeks, if I'm not mistaken, to submit the exam papers. I request you all to please take up the exam in full sincerity. It will really help you understand the Gita better when you do these exams.
So where are the questions? Where are the questions?
Okay, I will share it again in the group. I think you have joined the group after we shared the link. So what I will do now at the end of the class, I will share the link again. So all of you can go click on the link, register, and then you can access the question paper. Is that okay?
Thank you.
Okay, so thank you all very much for joining. Next class, by Krishna's mercy, we will start with chapter number 2. Vancha kalpataruvyascha kripa sindhu vyaivacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srimad Bhagavatam. Jai.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.